It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change your attitude, change your life. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. You're listening to us in your neighborhood from coast to coast and around the world. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joan Herman, author, speaker, and your host. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life brings you interviews with some of the most inspirational and influential people in the world. It's our goal to educate and empower you so you can live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. We have another great show for you today. Joining me is Jonathan Robinson, who says that the number one secret that leads to more money, health, and love is happiness. Jonathan is a psychotherapist who has taught millions of people simple ways to be happier. He's appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show and CNN, as well as other national TV talk shows, and he's written 9 best-selling books. In his latest book, Find Happiness Now, 50 Shortcuts to Bring More Joy, Balance, and Love into Your Life, he focuses on ideas and methods that can be done in under 3 minutes, yet still have a dramatic impact on a person's life. Welcome, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Joan. I'm looking forward to it.
Jonathan, in the introduction, I said that happy people make more money, they live longer, and they're more likely to find love. What type of happiness do you refer to in order to achieve this type of outcome?
Well, when they do these studies, they just ask people to rate how happy they are, and they find that the people who rate themselves high, end up over the course of their life making almost $1 million more in the same jobs. They live 9 years longer, they have happier kids, they get sick a lot less often. So it's really a self-report, because happiness is a very subjective thing. You know, one person loves skiing, another person hates it. So you really have to rate for yourself, how fulfilled am I? And sometimes they use different words, like how fulfilled are you? How content are you in your life? And it ends up that a lot of people are very depressed nowadays, and we have more depression than we ever have. So happiness becomes a very important mental health topic, because it does lead to more successful people. There's a phrase that success leads to happiness, but really it's the other way around, that happiness leads to success. Not many people are wildly happy. You know, just look around you. How many people seem wildly enthusiastic and excited about each day? Probably most people that you know like that are under the age of 5.
Jonathan, what do you think is happening? I mean, happiness really, shouldn't it be something that's innate in human beings? I mean, why are we so unhappy?
Well, most kids are born happy. They're pretty happy unless they're in pain, and then they get over it quickly, and then they're happy again. So I think what happens is that the dangerous cult we're in, called culture, teaches us that happiness is in money or having control over everything in our lives. And that's actually not the case. Happiness, as your show indicates, is about your attitude, and also about certain methods a person can use to find peace and joy within. And we're not taught what those methods are, and we are taught to find happiness where it really is not.
So we're looking in the wrong place. We think that the most expensive car, the biggest home, more assets, that's going to bring us joy, and it may for a moment, but it's very short-lived.
Exactly, and studies show that once you're middle class, more money doesn't actually increase your happiness level. So we don't make happiness a priority. We don't learn about it. We don't learn what methods actually lead to it, and therefore people are stuck. They get up, they go to work, they watch TV, they go to bed.
So stress is a really key factor in our lives today. I mean, more than ever, I think people are feeling the impact of a stressful life. And you say that we can go from being stressed out to blissed out in under 60 seconds. What does that mean?
Well, in the Find Happiness Now book, I came up with kind of a greatest hits of the best methods that can be done in under 3 minutes. And a lot of them only take a minute and yet have been proven by science to be very effective. So let me give one of the 50 methods. And as I said, if you have a lot of methods, you're going to be able to have a better chance of getting to the joy within. But in this 1 minute method, what you do is you imagine breathing through the center of your chest, like your chest had a lung there, and you just breathe through your chest, and then take a couple deep breaths like that, and then you focus on a person or animal or young child that you have great affection for. You know, I love my dog very much, so I often focus on her. I just imagine special times I've had with her and seeing her happy and licking me and running up and playing. And it's really cute and warms my heart. So I think of those moments, and then I think of, you know, rubbing her belly or whatever. And by focusing on loving moments with somebody that you really care about, it helps you to feel your heart and open your heart. And then you think of how grateful you are that this person or animal is in your life, and you just fill yourself with that gratitude. Well, with practice, you can go from stressed out to that sense of love and gratitude in 60 seconds, and it's a very useful way to counteract stress. In fact, it reduces the stress hormone levels for 5 hours. So 1 minute method is affecting your entire body chemistry for 5 hours.
You mentioned gratitude in that exercise. Do you believe that thankful people are more happy?
Absolutely. Many years ago, I interviewed a lot of spiritual leaders for a book called The Experience of God, and I interviewed everybody from Mother Teresa, late Mother Teresa, to the Dalai Lama, and Deepak Chopra, and all those people. And I asked them for what their favorite method was for connecting with spirit. And I was surprised that the number one method was through gratitude. So I became focused on how to feel more grateful in my life, because that's a really good feeling. And to tell you a kind of a funny story, I heard of an Indian guru who had a special mantra for helping people feel gratitude. So I go to India to find out what this mantra was, and it's not easy getting there, and I'm jet lagged and worn out. I finally get to his ashram, and I ask him after waiting in line for 6 hours, "What's your magical mantra for helping people feel gratitude?" And he says, yes, my mantra is the most powerful mantra on earth." And then he leaned in to whisper it to me, and he said, "Whenever possible, think these words to yourself. The words I give you are thank you." And I said, "That's it?" And he said, No, that's it is a mantra you have been using. And the words thank you, not that's it. That's it will take you nowhere. So I started to say thank you. And he mentioned that you want to say thank you for everything. Like, thank you for, I get to do this interview, and right before I was taking a shower, thank you for the hot water, and then I had breakfast, thank you for this food, and thank you for the milk, and thank you that I have a computer in front of me and I can reach, all the world's information through the internet. And then thank you that my voice works and my arm works, and thank you for my dog and my wife, and just kept on doing that. And within an hour, I had tears of gratitude going down my face, because, we have so much. We live better than billionaires lived 15 years ago. But if you don't have a discipline or a method for tapping into your heart in a moment-to-moment basis, it all becomes like just background. So I like that technique because it doesn't take any extra time, but it helps you to feel full with all the blessings that we do have.
I recently had the opportunity, Jonathan, to interview a mother whose 6-year-old son was murdered. He was killed in a school shooting. And she told me that the way she was able to find some type of joy in her life again, her formula was to live a life of gratitude, forgive others, and be in service to others. And I know that those are keys that you recommend as well. So, if you think about it, gratitude, forgiveness, and service, what better key could there be to live a good existence?
Well, exactly. Those are 3 keys. I talk about them in the book, and science is showing this as well, that certain things uplift human beings, and change their attitude. So those are like hidden keys. The number one way to boost a person's happiness level is through acts of kindness to a stranger or friend. So, you think you're doing good for somebody else, but you're really doing something to uplift yourself. But we're not taught these things. So people have to learn what the science says really does lead to happiness as opposed to what the culture or cult says will lead to happiness. And by doing those things, you just find that you're naturally happier because when you work with nature, it works.
Jonathan, why do you believe that so many people are on antidepressants? Do you think that we're just buying into the notion that that's the cure?
Well, antidepressants are a $20 billion a year industry. That's a huge amount of money. And you can, the pharmaceutical companies have a lot of money to advertise that these are the way to do it. And, we want a quick fix, a pill that will make a difference. So there's a lot of advertisements and people buy them. The problem is that they have negative side effects, unpleasant side effects, and they also are shown to be no more effective than placebos or sugar pills for people with moderate and mild depression. They do seem to work for people with severe depression. So, you get enough advertisements, you start to believe it. And the ways to get out of depression that don't involve medication, they don't have a $20 billion a year ad budget. So those things are generally not known. Most people don't know about them, so they learn, to suffer. And it's unfortunate because when you're depressed, you're less productive. Your kids get sick more often, you make less money, and it can be like a downward spiral. So what we need is one, more happy people and more discussion, like in your radio show, of simple ways people can change their attitude, that the technology for helping people to feel better does exist, and people just need to know what some of those specific methods are.
And like you said, Jonathan, the exercise that you offered, you said that it's scientifically proven that you get similar brain chemical changes for 5 hours that happened by taking some of these antidepressants. I mean, I think for me, that's definitely something to look into. It's a viable option.
Yeah, in fact, antidepressants don't work nearly as well as that one method we did before. Antidepressants don't reduce the stress hormone levels as well. And so they're expensive. They don't work as well. They have unpleasant side effects. And yet that's where people go because that's what they're told is the way to overcome feeling bad.
Jonathan, what about pets? Do pets make people happier?
Absolutely, especially my dog. She's really cute. No, there's a definite boost that you get from pets. And really, the thing that correlates the best with people being happy are the quality of their relationships. Not just quantity, 700 Facebook friends does not equal one quality friend. So, and, man's best friend and woman's best friend is often a dog or a cat. So pets are important because that relationship is usually one that's very loving, and also quality friends that can really be there for you and help you out in times of need.
The book is Find Happiness Now, 50 Shortcuts to Bring More Joy, Balance, and Love into Your Life by Jonathan Robinson. If you'd like to get more information, you can visit his website, findinghappiness.com. Jonathan, in about 30 seconds or less, what would be something that you want our listeners to remember from this interview?
Well, if people go to my website, findinghappiness.com, there's a lot of free articles and audio downloads about my best happiness tips, so people can sign up for that. But I'd like them to know that there are methods out there that can make a huge difference in how good one feels and how productive one is in life, and that you want to try out a bunch of these methods and see which ones work the best for you. And once you find one, then you have a friend for life because that friend is inside you.
Jonathan, thank you for being here with us today. I mean, talking about something as basic as happiness, it may seem somewhat trivial, but when you think about the results of being a happy person, more money, improved health, better relationships, it's really something that we need to bring into our life. We just need to find ways, and you suggest some wonderful ones, to bring more joy and happiness into our everyday life. So thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure, Joan. Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back. It's time for Medical Minutes. Joining me today is Dr. Michael Gross, the Medical Director of the Active Center for Health and Wellness, the founder of Active Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, and the Orthopedic Director of Sports Medicine at Hackensack University Medical Center in Hackensack, New Jersey. Dr. Gross is the author of the new book, Get Well Soon. Welcome, Dr. Gross. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Joan.
Dr. Gross, so often we hear the term osteoarthritis. What does this actually mean?
Let me break that down, Joan. Arthritis is inflammation in a joint, leading to ultimate degeneration of the joint. Osteoarthritis is the most common degenerative joint disease, but there are things known as infectious arthritis, there's rheumatoid arthritis, there's post-traumatic arthritis, so there are multiple different kinds of arthritis. The most common is osteoarthritis, and basically that is wear and tear, wearing down of the surfaces, and wearing down the joint itself.
What causes osteoarthritis?
It's a degenerative process, and it's multifactorial. So there may be a genetic component. There may be an activity-related component. Normally, if someone has an injury that changes the alignment of the joint or damages the surface of the joint, that will accelerate the degenerative process. Heavy people are more likely to have degenerative disease than fit people. So there's not one factor, it's multifactorial.
Which joints of the body are most commonly affected?
The knees and the hips are the most commonly affected joints with osteoarthritis, but people can develop osteoarthritis in their shoulders, in their elbows, in their ankles, in their fingers, so that it really can affect any joint and multiple joints.
Once we start down the path with osteoarthritis, what can we do, if anything, to reverse the damage?
Well, the damage can't really be reversed. What can be done is we can slow down the process. And there are really only two things that can slow down the process once it's began. Those are activity modification and weight control. We can do a lot of things as orthopedists, as physicians, that can control the symptoms, but the actual disease process can only be slowed by two things. Activity modification, so avoiding high impact type of exercise or activity that will wear down the joint faster, and weight control is probably the most important thing we can do.
If someone gets a diagnosis, what are some common treatment options that that person can expect?
First and foremost, change your activities. Try to do less high-impact exercise and more low-impact exercise. Things like swimming, cycling, using an elliptical are all good exercise that can maintain cardiac fitness but not cause impact on the joint. You can control symptoms with a lot of natural products, natural anti-inflammatories, and then there are over-the-counter medications that can be used. Once the pain or activity limitations go beyond that, there are medical treatments. There are injectables, there are oral medications, there are strengthening and flexibility exercises that can be done. And then finally, as a last resort, if your activity is limited to such an extent that you can't do the things you like to do and you can't perform the activities you like to perform, then there are surgical options.
Doctor, if someone is told that he or she needs a total or a partial knee replacement, what can that person expect, and what do you recommend to help with the healing process?
Well, total knee replacement and partial knee replacement, what that means is replacing the surfaces of the knee that are affected by arthritis. A lot of people have sort of a misconception that what we do is we open up the joint and we cut out the entire joint and then we put in a hinge or something like that. It's really a resurfacing operation. So I think first the patient has to have a realistic picture in their head of what's going to be done. Second, I think you have to have a relationship with your surgeon where you trust your surgeon, you believe they're the best person for you, and you can communicate with them. I think you need to have realistic expectations and know that you're going to have some pain and discomfort following the surgery, but ultimately you're going to get better, and it's going to be a process. And within 6 months to a year, it's a very successful operation, and patients do well, and their pain is relieved.
How important is someone's attitude in the healing process?
I think attitude is extremely important. somebody that goes into any surgical procedure with a good attitude, with a positive attitude, with a plan towards participating in their care and getting better is going to do better than a person who sits and thinks everything is going to be done to them rather than with them.
Doctor, thank you so much for spending time with us today. If our listeners would like to get more information about Dr. Gross, you can visit his websites, activeorthopedics.com or theactivecenter.com. And if you'd like to get information about how to achieve true wellness in your life, get a copy of his book, Get Well Soon, which is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Again, Doctor, thank you for being here.
Again, Joan, thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.
Passwords are one of those things we all have to deal with. Hi, I'm Rafi Jimgochin from Triada Networks, a small business computer support company in northern New Jersey. All the services that you use have them, from email to banking to work. A couple of tips on how to handle passwords. Don't use the same password on all your services. If one is figured out, then it will be used to access your other systems. Ditch the easy passwords like password or 12345 or monkey. Longer passwords are better than complex passwords. You may think that $R33 plus KM at is hard to guess, but password cracking programs can break through almost as easy as password 1. Use a passphrase such as a line from a movie or book that's easy to remember, or you can put multiple random words together that are otherwise meaningless. Use a password manager program. Password managers do a couple of things. At a basic level, they create a random password for you for each site or service that you visit. They keep track of those passwords across multiple devices, and they'll keep track of password changes too. Two I recommend are LastPass and 1Password. Another option, which is used by many banks and even are available to online email systems and social networks, are two-factor authentication. What that means is that besides your password, you have another second factor that's requested that is generated by an authenticator, such as a small token that you carry around, an application installed on your smartphone, or text message code sent to you. Remember, when your technology isn't working, your business isn't either. For more information, visit triadanet.com.
I'm William J. Ward, managing partner of the law firm of Carlin & Ward in Florham Park, New Jersey, here with attorney Ed V. Castro. We're discussing one of the most important legal documents you will ever need, your will.
It's critical because if a person dies intestate, which means without a will, in New Jersey or New York, the assets go to the closest relatives, starting with the spouse and children.
So a properly executed will ensures that your estate is left to the people you choose, and you can designate who will administer your estate.
You can appoint a guardian for minor children, control the way your children inherit your estate, and set up a trust to minimize estate taxes. We know there are many simplistic online solutions to drafting a will, but these don't fully address the complex issues presented by children or a large estate.
The same is true for handwritten or holographic wills, which are recognized by both states. The legal requirements of these types of wills are specific and must be followed strictly in order to be valid. Therefore, we recommend that you speak with an attorney before you are ready to draft your will, especially if you plan to make changes or revoke an existing will.
If you'd like more information, please call us at 973-377-3350 and visit our website, carlinward.com.
We all want to live a happy, productive life, but sometimes we just need a little help. Our Coach on Call experts provide strategies to help you live your best life now. Joining me today is Louis Soto Jr., a transformational life coach and author of the book, Awaken to the Brand New You, The Path to Reinventing Oneself. Louis is a motivational speaker and founder of New Life Living. Welcome, Louis. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the show, Jen. I'm really happy to be here.
Louis, you talk about our shadow that lurks in the darkness. What do you mean, our shadow? What does that refer to?
Our shadow is the part of ourselves that we have disowned. It's a part that we don't want to acknowledge because it makes us feel unworthy. But that part that we don't give energy to is the one that comes up in the middle of the night and destroys everything that we're trying to create.
So how does someone become aware of their shadow?
Well, first, you want to be mindful of your actions and then ask yourself, are my actions in alignment with my values and my intentions? And if they're not, and you keep on achieving the wrong outcome, then you know it's time to seek some guidance.
So how does someone transcend their shadow for a more positive outcome?
Once you know that you need some guidance, I would strongly advise to work with a coach, start developing a strong spiritual practice, so we could start developing what I like to call the witness consciousness. It's that part of us that before we're about to do something, we catch ourselves and we ask the question, is this going to bring me harmony or not?
And that would, I would think, come from being mindful of what you're doing in life and how you're feeling.
Exactly. And it's taking full responsibility for everything that has happened, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And I think that's a key, Louis, taking full responsibility. That's a great point.
Yeah, because a lot of people want to make mistakes. They want to blame society and they want to blame the situations that something is being done to them. But once we take full responsibility, we are now owning our power, and then we could decide by creating new intentions of creating the life that we want to live.
Becoming empowered.
Yes.
Louis, thank you so much for being here with us today. If you'd like to get more information about Louis, you can visit his website, newlifeliving.org, and be sure to get a copy of his book, Awaken to the Brand New You, The Path to Reinventing Oneself. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided are the opinions of our guests and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, take part in the book club, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.